Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 30. I'm Tony, and it feels so good to be right.
Okay, we'll get into that, I suppose. But my name is Jeff, and today we're back on the baseball diamond with Bases Loaded. Tony, based on your intro, I'm not sure exactly what you're right about, but would you recommend someone play Bases Loaded?
I'm right about the fact that I told you last episode that this game was going to be better than the original baseball, and it was. That's my immediate opinion.
Okay, fair. Again, we could have been tempting fate with that one.
Yes.
But I do agree. I still don't know if I would recommend it per se, but
yeah,
I'm going with a no asterisk for this one, not just a very hard no like the original baseball. So
sure,
we'll get into that more later though. Tony, can you give us a back of the box read?
I can. Pretty short today. Bases Loaded for Game Boy. Take the ball game out with you. If you liked the original Bases Loaded, you're gonna love this one. The hits and homers, diving stops and double plays, everything that made Bases Loaded great at home is captured on your Game Boy screen, from two separate perspectives that actually move with the action. It's the best sports action to ever hit a video screen, and now it goes with you wherever you go.
Ooh.
I don't know about best, but, we'll get into it.
Yeah. So I believe this was a port, more or less, from the NES version of Bases Loaded. One of many in this series, which I find a little bit interesting, but released here on our Game Boy in July of 1990 by Jalico. And it's a baseball game.
It is, and I don't have a whole lot to say. I didn't play the NES version of this. I just know that this is a port, sort of like a pared down but pretty faithful port. I don't have a whole lot to note about the Jalico publish, but I do want to note that this is a Tosei developed game.
Yeah.
Which makes it a really big step up from the last time we saw them, which was Hyper Load Runner.
Yeah, we also saw them with Malibu Beach Volleyball, so...
Which was good. Okay,
yeah.
That's, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, maybe they should stay with sports games and not Hyper Load Runner. But
what a thing to say.
I don't have a whole lot more on the background here, so do you just want to dive into the mechanics?
I think that we really need to just go right into the differences here, because we have been hyping up for so long that we want to see a better sports game come out instead of trying all of the new ones, and this is the first of those, so we really ought to just get into it.
Let's do it. We'll dive headfirst into home plate or whatever you do. So, as far as the mechanics go, it is a sports game. The goal, you're playing baseball, pretty self-explanatory there. You're trying to win a game of baseball. As far as the controls, there are really three different controlling sections. And I'm just going to go through those one after the other. So first, hitting, left and right, positions you on the plate. A will swing your bat. You can also bunt, and then if you hold the D-pad, you can kind of control where you hit the ball, but more or less left or right, and then A hits the ball.
Yep.
Pitching, left or right, chooses where on the plate you want to pitch. A will then kind of lock that in. You can then hold the D-pad and use A to select what kind of pitch you're going to throw. So if you hold left, it's going to be a slider or whatever. Then fielding, your D-pad moves the players around. B dives and jumps, which we'll get into. And then A, once you have the ball with the D-pad, will throw to whatever base you're pressing on the D-pad. So
right.
Very similar in a lot of ways to the original baseball. And frankly, just getting it out of the way, if it's not abundantly clear already, we're going to be making a lot of references back to, I think it was episode 5.
Wow.
Where we played the first baseball game for the Game Boy because honestly, a lot of the gameplay feels very, very similar between the two games with a few, I think, very important distinctions.
Yeah, mostly like it's a much better game.
Yeah, I think if you were to distill it down into a one sentence synopsis, that would definitely be it. For me, a lot of that was because the pace of play was so much faster and nicer. It just felt a lot smoother as you were playing it. It didn't feel super chunky. It didn't feel super slow. It felt a lot faster and a lot just better to play.
I went in to this game head high thinking it was going to be better than OG baseball. And when I hit a home run at my third at bat or whatever.
Something that did not happen in OG baseball, right?
Something that did not happen in my entire time with OG baseball. I knew that I was going to have a much better time with this one. And while I still lost the game that I got my home run in, I don't know that at any point was I anywhere even close to as frustrated with this game as I was with OG baseball. Yes, there are some things about it that I think are still kind of iffy, but let's pretend that they look exactly the same. The mechanics of this game and how it handles all of the different gears that have to turn for baseball to function, the fielding, the pitching, the running, the batting, all of it, all of the things that are here are improved on from the original baseball. Like, it's a night and day difference in almost every single way. You run faster. You have more control and an easier way determining which person you're fielding with. You have more options for pitching. You've got more control over where the ball is going to go while you're batting. Like, everything is leveled up in the way that I had hoped.
Agreed.
Even if they were entirely the same game, like the way the characters looked and stuff, this is still a fun baseball video game where the OG baseball was just not.
Agreed. And starting at the beginning, you have USA mode and Japan mode, very similar to the original baseball that we played.
Right.
And then another thing that I quite liked is you have an official and non-official game. If you play an official game, you get to play the full 9 innings. Or you can play a non-official game and play 2, 3, 5, 7 innings, however kind of long you want. And I quite like that.
I loved that.
Yeah, what was your choice in those? Did you play USA, Japan mode? Did you play official full 9 innings or what was that?
Well, I kind of figured that you were probably going to play USA mode just by default.
I did, yeah.
In case it was like a language thing or something like that. So I played Japan mode. I'm pretty sure the only difference is that the speed is in kilometers instead of
miles per
mph.
hour.
Yeah. I don't think there's any difference other than that.
I couldn't tell. I actually played both. So I played 5 innings in USA mode, and then I played 3 innings in Japan. Couldn't tell a difference between the two. And online, it seemed to say that, yeah, really the only difference was how the speed was recorded, but
that's what I had read as well. So I played Japan mode, and I did try both teams. I don't think that they were like super different really but from each other, but I played the non-standard?
Non-official.
The non-official. I played 5-inning games just because if it wasn't going to be good, I did not want to be stuck there for a long time. So the fact that they let you do that was really nice, especially because it means that the standard, the official mode, is almost like a season because you start at like a lower difficulty. It's almost like Malibu Beach volleyball in that way.
Yeah.
You start at the lowest difficulty team and then you go up and up and up to the next one and you play a full 9-inning game and move on like tournament style. So it's almost like you're doing an entire season. And if you want to just do like a quick exhibition match or whatever, you can play with as many innings as you want. If you want to go up to 9, you can. If you want to do less, you can. And I thought that was great, especially because I found out that unlike the original baseball, this game doesn't end if either team is 10 points ahead of the other.
Oh, really? I didn't look up if there was a mercy rule or anything like that.
I didn't look it up. I was just, after I had already played and was kind of just like messing around just to see like, because I had read about the different ways that you can pitch, and there were so many more than I thought there were.
Yeah.
Like even the diagonals on the D-pad are special pitches and stuff too. So I was just kind of like tooling around and, you know, seeing what happened if you threw, you know, if you press the different diagonals and things. And so I think I stopped playing when the opposing team got like, they were like 11 points ahead of me.
Okay.
And the game was still going. Even after it got to the end of the current inning and they were 10 points ahead by the end of that inning, it still didn't stop. I was like, oh, okay, so it's just going to keep going. I'm just going to stop here. There's, I guess, no mercy rule in this. Maybe it's different in the official mode, you know, where it's supposed to be like actual tournament rules or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a mercy rule there, but in the unofficial mode, there isn't. And I guess you would just keep going until someone was like 90 points ahead of the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if actually in like official MLB, if there is a mercy rule or not. But to your point of there are a lot more pitches that you can use. I found that mechanic to be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, once you selected kind of where on the plate you wanted the ball to go, you could push the D-pad. Up was a fastball, right was a screwball, down was a changeup, left was a curve. But you could also, like you said, hit the diagonal. So up, fastball, left, curve. Up left, if you hit that diagonal, was a fast curveball. And so all of the diagonals also had different pitches, and I found that to be, just a nice little addition.
Yeah.
And just something that kind of made sense as you were playing. You would kind of hit those things, and it just kind of felt smooth. The controls like felt smooth for that, and they felt good.
Yeah, it was so cool to see that variety. And it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I select this pitch, but the ball still goes the same way. Like, no, it'll like squiggle around or whatever else if you're doing like a wacky kind of pitch or whatever. And I thought that was great. It didn't help me at all. The computer, which is one of my probably biggest issues with the game, is that the computer, I think out of the entire time that I played, I didn't ever manage to strike out the computer.
Agreed.
But I only managed to actually get a strike on the computer like enough times that I could count on one hand. They were like on it. They knew every single pitch. They knew whether it was going to be a ball and they shouldn't swing, or if they should swing for a strike. It's not like they were hitting home runs all the time. I was actually pretty able to consistently get them out, but they were hitting almost every single pitch that I was throwing, no matter what direction, toward the plate, away from the plate, wild pitches. Like, it didn't matter. They almost always knew exactly what to do.
That was probably one of my biggest complaints as well, is that, it felt like the CPU pitcher would pitch something a foot outside. And the batting aspect is like relatively quick, so you don't have heaps of time to really take it all in.
Yeah.
So as, a player, it felt a little hard to always distinguish if it was a good pitcher or not. Whereas, it felt like the CPU, when they were hitting, they always knew if it was going to be a ball or a strike and would never swing at a ball. But again, comparing back to original baseball, I felt like there were certain ways that you could pitch to the CPU that would give you better results, give you better, strikes, strikeouts, etc. I feel like that, at least I didn't find that in this game. But to your point, when the CPU did hit the ball, I felt like I had a much better chance of fielding it
Yeah.
and doing the rest of the whole baseball thing, as opposed to original baseball on the Game Boy, where it felt like if they hit the ball, it was just kind of done.
Yeah. And apart from the fact that returning the ball to a base, you know, like you're trying to get somebody out, so you're throwing for second, whatever, that feels a little slow. Not the running. Running to get the ball is smooth, and I love that you can jump or slide, or rather dive to try and get the ball. That's amazing and feels really good. But actually getting the ball, like, back to a base, I feel never really works out. Like, if the player knocks the ball, you know, all the way to the back wall, it's basically a guarantee that they're going to get every runner that they're moving where they want to move them to, and potentially even steal a base, because getting the ball back into play just kind of takes a while.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, other than that, fielding is really good.
I just want to throw out there, the dive and jump function, while it is easy to just kind of mention, it made it feel so much better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay it. It really, like, no pun intended here, it really is a game changer. It was like, I think we even, like, decried in original baseball how much better it would have felt to be able to just dive after a ball.
Yeah, baseball, and I think tennis as well, like multiple of the sports games that we've played, we've mentioned just something like this where, yeah, if you dive with your outfielder and you miss the ball, it is a big setback. But it lets you make plays that you otherwise wouldn't have, and it adds this kind of risk reward, especially in comparison to modern day games. It's so easy to just kind of, oh yeah, you can dive. But compared to some of the things we've played, I think it is such a great addition to this game that makes it feel a lot better.
It speaks to the methodology of the show. The fact that we started with the older games and have chronologically moved up to the first recurring sports game means that we can look at it and be like, wow, what a big step forward from what was originally here on the Game Boy. We have already played the first iteration of baseball on the Game Boy, and it stunk. It was not fun, barely anything redeeming about it at all. And now we can come to this game and talk about all of the things that in a 2026 baseball game or whatever is just like common. Of course you can dive. Of course you can jump. Of course you can climb the walls after a long ball or whatever. Like, yeah, sure, of course you can do that. But here, that's new. That's something we've been asking for in basically all of the sports games that we've played, and here it is. And it made a world of difference in how this game felt to play.
Agreed.
Of the three things you can do, batting is, in my opinion, the weakest. Like, pitching is good, and you have a lot of options, and it waits for you to, like, pick all of your pitches and stuff like that. Fielding is good. You move nice. You have a pretty easy time of navigating which outfielder you want to be running with and getting them to the ball, and you can dive and jump, all that stuff. So that feels good.
What I find interesting about that is I think we both felt hitting was the best aspect of the original baseball.
That is true.
I find it interesting that there's that shift, and I wonder if that is indicative that this hitting is a little bit worse, or if the batting in the original was just the only thing that we could kind of cling to because everything else felt so bad.
So I'll tell you why I think that the batting is the worst thing here. And it's not to say that the batting is bad. It's not like every other aspect of this game is great, and then you get up to bat and you're like, oh man, I can't wait for this to be over. Like,
agreed, yeah.
That's not it at all. The reason that I say that it's the weakest part of the game is that compared to the other major things that you are doing here in Bases Loaded, the options that they try to, like, offer you with batting just don't really work the way that I think that they intended them to.
Okay.
when you're pitching, everything is waiting for you. You have to select your pitch. You have to decide where you're going to throw the ball, whatever. And the game waits until you throw the ball. And so you're able to select all of your things without having to worry about something else happening. When you're running to go get the ball, you're not worried about any of that other stuff. You're just moving your guy to go get the ball and then throw it back to the base. The button controls on that are smooth, and it's great that they let you have the extra maneuverability. But when it comes to batting, they give you the option to like hit the select button, and then it opens this crosshair, and then you get to aim where you're going to knock the ball, and then you can pick like what kind of swing you're going to do. If you want it to be more like a home run, then you hold down on the D-pad and like all this other stuff. And you don't get to decide any of those things because the CPU is going to throw the ball whether you're ready or not. And so if the CPU is just like pounding them down and throwing the ball as fast as possible, you don't even get a chance to do any of that stuff when you're batting because you can only do it. Like, you can't just do it the entire time they're getting ready to pitch. It's like a specific window. And if you don't do the button combination right there, you don't get to do it at all. And so, like, what's the point? How are you supposed to even react to do any of those things if it's out of your hands? You're just waiting for the computer to do that. And, like, I understand they're not going to just pause the game to let you make your batting decision. That wouldn't make any sense. But, like, it just feels kind of weird to give you these options, but to not really make them flow with the rest of the game.
Yeah. I feel like they were trying to do a lot with it and just missed the mark slightly.
Right.
Because, yeah, you want to have that kind of real life feeling of the pitcher is the one who is controlling the tempo of all of that.
Of course. Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, it does feel like there's a lot going on. I also felt like the pitchers in this game threw a lot more pitches that you had no chance of hitting at all.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have a whole lot of time. Maybe this is just the fact that I'm old and my reaction time is slow nowadays. I felt like you didn't have a whole lot of time to really distinguish, like, okay, that's a good pitch, that's a bad pitch. On top of what you're saying with also trying to hit select and choose where you're trying to hit it or all of those things, I felt like there was just a lot going on there that, yeah, made it a little bit more maybe difficult or not as enjoyable as, I guess, as original baseball. But I appreciate that they were trying to do those things.
Yeah. I guess it just feels like they made outfielding good. They improved that. Pitching has all of these options and, you know, feels good to do or whatever. So, like, what can we do to make batting more, like, involved and have more things to do about it? But, like, honestly, it probably would have been better if they didn't.
Yeah.
Or if it was only the directional inputs and not the, like, press select and crosshairs, whatever, like... Not that it didn't need to be improved necessarily, but like out of all of the things in a baseball game, the point where you are swinging the bat at the ball, the only thing there that really needs careful attention is pretty much the collision of the bat with the ball. All of the extra stuff is just that. It's just extra stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels like they wanted to put stuff in here to make the batting, like, I don't know, more exciting or something. But because of the nature of baseball and how you as the batter are not in control of the tempo of what is happening, it just feels like, why bother? I honestly didn't even do anything with the, like, special batting stuff until after I had read it in the manual.
Agreed.
And then I went back and I was like, oh, I mean, I guess I could try because what difference does it make?
Yeah. I didn't even realize it when I played through the first time. So, you know, maybe a little unnecessary, but I will say I did successfully bunt the ball.
Nice.
I don't 100% know how I did it. It just kind of happened. And at least I did successfully use that feature. So that is also, I guess, a plus from the original baseball.
Yeah, I read about it. Like, it's supposed to be like, you swing, but you hold the A button and then you let go right when the ball connects with the bat or something like that. Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I accidentally hit A too many times, and then my bat was just out in front of the plate, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm bunting on this play.
Sure.
And I did. And yay.
Yay.
But yeah, at least it did happen. I can at least confirm that is in the game. So kudos, I suppose.
Did you get any home runs?
I did. Yeah, I think 1 or 2. And then I had probably a handful against me. But, you know, I was about to say what I liked about the home runs, but that is in the next section. So if you don't have anything else, I think quick ad break, and then we'll get into the creative discussion.
Let's do it. Ad break.
I'm sorry, Tony, but some of these older Game Boy games are just bad.
Oh, right. Like you could do any better?
You know what? I probably could.
Yeah? Then do it. Make your own Game Boy game.
Tony, this isn't the 90s. I am not learning assembly.
Not necessary. Just use GB Studio. GB Studio is easy-to-use game-building software that lets you make games for your favorite retro gaming rectangle. With versions available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, it's never been easier to make a game for the Game Boy. And GB Studio's multiple project modes means you can develop for the original DMG, the Super Game Boy, or the Game Boy Color. Using a drag-and-drop style of visual scripting means you don't even need any prior programming knowledge to get started. And the best part is, your work can be built and exported as a fully playable Game Boy ROM, ready for any emulator or flash cart you choose. Learn more or download GB Studio for yourself at www.gbstudio.dev. In a world not too unlike our own, there are creatures known as pups, doll-like beings brought to life through magic. These pups used to live a life of peace and harmony in their forests and towns. This was shattered when the evil king Hocus Pocus arrived and began to use mysterious powers to control the poor pups, turning them into an army bent on world domination. As one of the only remaining pup knights with your own free will, it falls to you to take up sword and shield in defense of the once bustling city of Pup Town. Fight your way through stage after stage of enemies, taking them down in back and forth turn-based combat, gaining experience and coins as you go. Keep yourself upgraded and well-fed back at the tavern and other still inhabited places around the town square. The more of the enemy's army you're able to clear out from around Pup Town, the more its inhabitants will make themselves known to you, maybe even helping you continue to grow stronger and better able to put an end to the evil king's reign of terror once and for all. So get going! There's an adorable cast of sprightly furries that needs your help. Will you be the savior of Pup Town? Pup Panic by Unicorp Entertainment is available now on itch.io for all Game Boy systems and emulators. And we're back.
Bat.
That's the second time. That's the second time I've missed making a bat pun.
I did it for you this time, so...
Okay, thank you. I think that the music here was pretty good. Not really anything that I would say a whole lot about. I can't really remember any of it, which is sort of unusual for me. Like, usually something kind of tends to stick out, but, like, it was good. I definitely never had a point where I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had turned this off.
Yeah, I agree. The music was fine. It was there. You have the option to turn it off, so that's always nice. You know, meh. It existed, and I think that's about all that I have to say about that.
It was pleasant, very cheerful throughout. Just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a whole lot to say, even over original baseball. Like, that music wasn't great in original baseball, but, like, this was just good. Good background music for a baseball game.
Yeah. When you did hit a home run, which we were kind of ending the mechanics section with, it did at least have, like, a nice little fanfare.
It did!
Much better than the original baseball. It kind of showed you the scoreboard, which is nice because that's what happens in actual baseball games. And it had like confetti and it had, home run, and it had a little bit of like celebration and things like that. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't crazy, but I felt like it was adequate for what it should be. And I feel like it made sense in the baseball ecosystem. And yeah, I just felt like it was good.
And it wasn't the only time.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done a home run cutscenes and called it there, but like there's like a halftime in between your innings or whatever where they have like cheerleaders come on and spell out the name of whichever team is currently leading, like West or East, and they like spell them out with their pom-poms or with their like
little signs,
skirts or whatever. So like even that was still really cute. Like there was a lot of personality put into the interstitial moments of this game that I think go a long way. When you lose or win, there's a cutscene for that where it shows the different teams on like podiums and raising a flag and all this stuff. Like,
agreed. Yeah, I wish I would have played the official mode to see if the cheerleaders came out like on the last inning or if it was like the seventh inning stretch or what that was. But they existed in both. When I played 5 and 3 innings, they came out in both of those. So yeah, just a good little bit of character that it adds, and that didn't take too long.
No.
I know one of the things we said about, or at least I said in the original baseball, was that between every inning, the pitcher would run out to the mound, and it kind of took a long time and it felt slow. These didn't feel that way, even though it was a cutscene, even though it was technically slowing down the play. It felt good and it felt quick, and I just really liked that.
It's basically just a straight improvement on the original baseball.
Agreed.
It's again the same thing like we said with the mechanics. It's something that we lamented not being in the original baseball and has just 100% been improved in pretty much every aspect. There are cute cutscenes for all of the in-between moments and stuff. The player sprites, they might all look the same, like it's a team made up of all the same guy. But the two teams, especially in the like shots where they're, doing cutscenes, and so that's like a close-up on two different players, like one from each team, they do look a little bit different. It's not just like the same team, but with like darker jersey. Like it's not a big difference. They didn't make them look like totally different guys or whatever, but it's still a little bit more than it was in baseball.
Agreed. Yeah.
And they even have, the characters have like emotive faces. The players look like they're grimacing in the cutscenes. The baseball in Bases Loaded, like on the title screen, kind of looks like it's got like a fangy mouth or something, like it's scowling or whatever. Like there's just a lot of personality and a lot of cute design details in this game that make it a total upgrade from original baseball.
I find a lot of that to be kind of interesting, because if you were to compare kind of the action scenes, we'll say, or like when things are actually happening between the two games, I would say they're very comparable. When you're batting, it looks very similar between the two. Pitching looks a little bit different because you have kind of like a big baseball as opposed to like the little cursor that you had in baseball. But fielding looked quite similar. Everything looked quite similar as you were doing the actual things that you were doing. But yeah, they were able to put in a lot more character and put in a lot more like feeling into this one that baseball was just lacking.
Yeah, I mean, even in the things that do kind of look the same, all of that stuff has like emotion to it. When your guy is running after a ball and you do a dive, there's like an actual spring to your little guy's like jump that he does, and you see him like fishtailing with his arms out, like trying to get the ball. Like, it looks like he's doing a desperate little dive to try and catch that ball. And it's such a small detail that really shows just how much those kinds of things can actually make a difference.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think as far as functionality is concerned, aside, both the dive and the jump, they make the sprites feel like they are exerting effort.
Yes.
And like you said, it's a little thing, but it makes the game feel better. It's like, oh yeah, like, you tried, little guy, you missed, but you tried. And it just makes it feel better.
I think the only thing that I don't really have anything to say about, positive or negative, even when compared to original baseball, is the sound.
Yeah.
It's practically identical.
I would agree with that.
It is what it is. If you told me that the sounds were exactly the same from OG baseball, I don't know that I would be able to prove you wrong.
Yeah, I seem to remember the soundtrack being a little bit more annoying in OG baseball, but unfortunately, sports games, like, I feel like they kind of suffer in this section because most of them are trying to do a lot of things to make the sport function.
Sure.
And so they can't put in a whole lot of super cute sprites and things like that. I will say I do like a lot of the sprites that they put in this game, and I think this is probably one of the better showings of the sports games that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like sports is, at least for now, hasn't been the best genre for this part of the discussion.
Yeah, I think that, unfortunately, the sports games kind of tend to lose out because on the Game Boy, you can't make things like super realistic because you only have so much real estate to work with for sprites and backgrounds and stuff like that, and processing power and all those sorts of things.
And we saw what happened with Spider-Man when they tried to make a big sprite.
Exactly. So if a sports game wants to stand out, apart from being, mechanically competent and fun to play, when it comes to aesthetics, really all they can do is kind of lean into like cartoonishness or like fantasy elements or something like that. And we haven't had any of that, but I think this is close. The fact that there are the cutscenes and like the cheerleaders and stuff, if they would have gone like a little bit more silly with it, we'll say, because you already have a pitch that makes the ball like basically do like little loops and stuff when you throw it. So like,
yeah, the screwball.
Yeah, your screwball like literally looks like it's doing like corkscrews in the air. They could have leaned in a little bit harder on the silliness and the like cartoony depictions of things, and it really would have stood out even more. But maybe there's another baseball game down the line that will have that.
I was kind of hoping for maybe like a backyard baseball-esque vibe with this one. Right. But, we didn't get there, but I also don't think that was bad. I think maybe we're ready for a little bit of wrap-up.
I think so.
You never gave a yes or no, so what is your final take on Bases Loaded? Should I pull out 4 AA batteries to throw in my Game Boy DMG?
I mean, I had more fun than I thought I was going to have.
It's a bit surprising to me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, even going in thinking, oh, well, it's got to be better than baseball. I mean, the bar for that is like in the dirt.
Yeah.
So like better than baseball is not really asking for a whole lot. But this one really kind of blew me away with how much I actually enjoyed it. And I mean, I could probably see myself going back and playing this, especially because you can play a single inning if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to play through an entire 5-game season or whatever. You can literally hop on, pick a team, play for 3 to 5 innings, and then call it and be done. So again, when I look at these and I think about would I recommend it, like, yes, obviously I'm thinking about whether or not I had fun or whether I think other people might have fun, but it really matters to me whether or not this feels like a Game Boy game, like a game that feels perfectly made to be played on the Game Boy. And having a Game Boy in my hands, I would play this game and take it with me, and it would feel like it should be in someone's library. And for that, it would be disingenuous of me to not recommend this game. So I think ultimately I would say yes, that this one is worth the batteries.
Okay.
Even if you don't like a baseball game, you might still enjoy this. But if you do like baseball, especially if you're looking for something to just pull out and play in a short time period when you're like waiting for something like a Game Boy is expected to do, I recommend this one.
I'm going to put you as a yes asterisk on that one.
Sure.
Because there were a lot of qualifications, but broadly, I think I agree. I think I'm on the no side of that because I could definitely see pulling this out and playing it for 3 to 5 innings, which I think took me maybe like 10, 20 minutes.
Right.
I don't know if I could ever see myself actually trying to go through and play the actual official tournament.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think it was a solid showing, especially compared to original baseball. If you want to play a baseball game on the Game Boy, hands down, play this one over the original baseball. But I still think there are maybe better showings. So
before we get to the quiz, the last thing I wanted to say is that when I was looking up, like, you know, research stuff or whatever on this game, I found a review from a GameFAQs user from all the way back in 2003. And they rated the game like a 5, but they said, I think this is the worst game for the Game Boy. And all I can think to say to that is like, you must not have played many Game Boy games then.
Yeah, so that's a 5 out of 10 on GameFAQs, right?
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I would rate the worst game ever a 5 out of 10.
Right.
And yeah, also, as we've mentioned a couple times already in this episode, there is another very direct comparison that I would rank maybe slightly lower, but
this isn't even the worst baseball game on the Game Boy, let alone the worst game on the Game Boy.
Right, yeah, within the first year of release, not even the worst baseball game, so
exactly. Anyway, I had to share that. I read that and I was just like, how many Game Boy games have you played? Anywho, all right. It's quiz time.
Quiz time. So I'm at a 79.5%.
Nice.
I would round that up to an 80, so a B. But we will see. I don't think original baseball did me too well. I was 1 for 3 in the original baseball.
Oof.
So hopefully this one does better.
I think you'll be fine. I think that the reason the original baseball quiz maybe didn't go so well is because it was a lot of like actual baseball information, like stats and stuff like that.
You pulled out a number of what was the Japanese baseball team that won the series in 1989, and I was like, I don't know.
I have a lot more to work with for this one, we'll say.
All right.
So I think you'll do better here. Bases Loaded quiz. Question 1. While I may be someone who has done a lot of research into the depth and breadth of the Game Boy, one area that I think is particularly fascinating is the world of Game Boy peripheral accessories. Things like the battery packs, the worm lights, Game Boy camera, the pocket sonar, like all of that stuff is very fun to research, and I would love to get my hands on more of them someday. In the back of the Bases Loaded manual, Jalico actually has a small survey that you can fill out, and it asks you about any accessories that you might have for your Game Boy. But their lists of options are a little strange. Which of these accessories that the survey asks if you might already have is real? A, a gun. B, a power glove. C, a U-Force. Or D, All of these are real answers.
Prior knowledge coming in.
I thought so, maybe.
Yeah. One of the things I do look at is I do look through the manual. And yeah, some of these stood out to me.
Uh-huh.
I would love a power glove, personally. I just think that would be like super cool to have.
Uh-huh.
The gun, it makes sense. It's the little like zapper gun. But I was confused about what the U-Force was, so that one kind of stuck out to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is D. I think all of those were in the back of the manual.
It is D. Good job.
Let's go. Prior knowledge, it's like I'm cheating.
Nah. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that the survey was just recycled from probably Jaleco's like NES release of Bases Loaded. So instead of like making the survey over from scratch, they just put the same survey in the back of the Game Boy manual instead.
You know, in my head, I did not even remotely think this is for the Game Boy, not for the NES. And I know all of those things are NES accessories.
Yeah, exactly. They're all NES accessories. There is no Game Boy gun. There is no Game Boy Power Glove. Although I think that maybe Faceball 2000 would have been a more interesting game if you had like a peripheral gun that you like aimed at your Game Boy screen and like shot the little face guys or whatever. There are a lot of wacky accessories for the Game Boy. Let me tell you, there is a sewing machine and a sonar, but yeah, no gun, no Power Glove. That's all NES stuff. So
I'll have to do a Patreon episode on NES and Game Boy accessories because I would have never thought there was a sewing machine.
The Game Boy accessories are a deep dive all on their own, but that's a different topic. Anyway, ready for question 2.
Let's do it.
We didn't get much variety in team choices and character roster here in Bases Loaded on the Game Boy. This wasn't the case for the NES original, though. And while it wasn't able to use any existing US Major League teams or anything like that, it still provided more variety than the 2 teams that we could swap between here in this port. But how many teams could you choose from in total? A, 4, B, 8, C, 12, or D, 24?
7 and 12 are the 2 numbers that stick out to me from looking this up. And considering only one of those is an option, I'm going to say 12?
It is 12.
Oh, let's go. Again, I'm cheating.
Good job.
And who would have thought?
Yeah, well, it's not cheating. It's like studying for a test.
I will say I specifically avoid the cutting room floor because I know you like to pull stuff from that.
That's true.
So I do specifically avoid going on that site, but other stuff is fair game.
Yeah, I couldn't get anything for this one from there, but I do check there pretty much every time. There are 12 teams to choose from on the original NES Bases Loaded. None of them get team branding or anything like that. They don't have the licensing for like the MLB. They just get the name of the city or the state that they are supposed to hail from in the game. So the spread ranges from Boston and Philadelphia to Hawaii and Texas, with lots of locations in the US like dotted in between, all of which was definitely way more than we got here.
Yeah, we got East and West.
I loved, and we didn't say this in the aesthetic section, but I love that when they raise the flag, like when you're winning or losing, it's just American flag and then American flag, but instead of stars, it's East or West.
Yeah, I was a little sad the Japan version didn't have a Japanese flag, but I don't know.
All right, come on. 3 for 3. Even your baseball quiz is going to improve.
Let's hope.
Question 3. We only get one Bases Loaded game on the Game Boy. But there was a whole series after the original that went on for quite a while. The NES Bases Loaded had a total of 3 sequels, as well as some arcade versions, all released in the 80s and early 90s. After that, the SNES got a few of them, but the last one came out just beyond the SNES, ending with Bases Loaded 96 Double Header. Is it true or false that this game came out on the PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and Nintendo 64? You could have almost prior knowledged your way into through this whole quiz.
Well, this is where my prior knowledge is potentially letting me down.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm pretty confident it's the PlayStation. Also think it was the Sega?
But was it all three?
I don't think it was, but...
Because it's all the same time frame. So it's basically, did it come out on all of them or not all of them?
I'm going to go with false, because I don't think it came out with all of them.
Good, because it is false.
All right, let's go. All right, prior knowledge did me really well, yeah.
Trying to keep you from second guessing that your way out of that one. It is false. It did not come out on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I remember reading PlayStation and Sega Saturn and kind of questioning those two choices. And so, yeah, I just wasn't sure if it came out on all three, but I guess not overthinking wins again.
Yep, Bases Loaded 96 Doubleheader did come out on the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, but it was never made for the N64. It's the final game in the series, and the only one that Jaleco handled development for internally.
Ooh.
From what I could find, contemporary reviews at the time were not kind to this game, with one reviewer from the US magazine Next Generation stating that, quote, Jaleco's long-running baseball series ran out of steam long ago, and this totally disappointing 32-bit incarnation is a perfect reason to let it die.
Oof. That is...
Right.
That is rough. But that officially brings me above the 80 mark.
Yes!
So that is a plus.
Look at that.
This baseball, yeah, did much better than the original in multiple ways.
Everybody at home, just imagine like a bespoke animation to celebrate Jeff officially breaching 80% B range on the quiz.
Yeah, just go back to any of the home runs you saw and imagine that with, something else. But that's still that fanfare.
Exactly that.
With that, can you remind us what the listener question from The Amazing Spider-Man was?
Okay. Spider-Man question. Despite the fact that the villains in The Amazing Spider-Man are clearly talking to Spider-Man on walkie-talkies,
Obviously.
the fact that they call him at the Parker residence and know who he is suggests that they're actually using landline telephones. I found a landline telephone from 1994 that has a big old chunky Spider-Man figure on top of it, and I wanted to know which Spider-Man media this particular phone got its Spider-Man from. Jeff?
I'm going to go with Spider-Ham, Peter Porker, because that's the only multiverse Spider-Man that I find silly.
Oh, we're thinking big multiverse.
Yeah. Honestly, I only know that because of magic. But that's what I'm going to go with, even though I don't think that's accurate.
No, I'm actually surprised because I thought you would have gotten this one because you, I think, talked about this in the episode proper. It's from the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon that was running in the 90s. And so it's got like Spider-Man standing on top of, this big like plastic, like chunky phone base, and it's got the big like spiky Spider-Man yellow like font logo across the front. Very 90s. The phone itself is just like a normal phone. I actually like when novelty phones like make the phone a weird like part of the device or whatever. But this one's just like normal phone with Spider-Man just kind of like hanging out in the background.
Unfortunate. Yeah, I think that is like the only Spider-Man that I've actually watched.
It's a good one.
So a little bit of a miss on my part, but what is the listener question for this episode?
So for Bases Loaded, we will be seeing more Jaleco games as we continue this Game Boy journey, pretty much all the way through to the end. Jaleco was a very prolific publisher at this time, and they brought plenty of games to the US in the 90s, all the way up until the end point of the original Game Boy just before the 2000s. While the last official game that Jaleco had a hand in on the Game Boy was a Japanese exclusive quiz game, their final North American release was exclusive to the West. released in 1997, and a sequel to a platformer that we will be seeing when the show covers games from 1992. This game stars a classic horror monster trying to gather gold to keep his castle out of debt. What game is it? I can't imagine that you would know, Jeff.
I secretly looked up our list, and so I do know.
Prior knowledge.
But there's a good chance I'll forget by next week. So if you know, let us know. And yeah, when we get to this section next week, if I don't know, that's why. Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/criticaldmgpod. Join us there for monthly newsletters and extra content. Otherwise, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe recommend us to your friends or anyone else you might think that would like the show. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it. That brings us to an end of our baseball excursion for this week.
One baseball game down, more to come.
Yeah. Hopefully they continue getting this much better. Hopefully each one iterates as well as this one did.
Mm-hmm.
But join us next week where we talk about, I'm going to call it Dandelion Opus. I think it's Daedalion?
I think it's, Daedalion Opus.
Daedalion Opus.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, join us next week for Dandelion Opus, and we'll see what that is.
Yeah, I have not looked this one up before. I don't know anything about this. The name makes me think maybe it's going to be a shmup because they sometimes just have, kind of oddball names. So that would be nice. I like shoot 'em ups. I would look forward to another one of those, but
I will spoil a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Looking at the list, the Japanese title is Boken Puzzle Road.
Ah, puzzle. Okay.
So maybe a puzzle game, but we'll find out together next week.
We sure will. All right, and so will you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.